My name is Avi Netkus. I'm an information security professional, and I'm a commissioner on the Telecommunications and Technology Commission for the Village of Skokie. On behalf of the commission and our partners, the Skokie Police Department, I'm pleased to welcome you here tonight to Don't Be a Turkey, Prevent the Cyber Criminals from Feasting. If you're here to learn about cybersecurity, you're in the right place. If you're not here to learn about cybersecurity, stick around. It'll be fun. You'll learn something anyway. I'm going to present the first half of the event, which is an overview on cybersecurity, focusing on the proactive measures that you can take. We'll discuss some common misconceptions about security, how to effectively protect ourselves. And the second half of the event will be presented by Officer Wilkin, who will talk about specific types of cybercrime and what to do if you do become a victim, as well as some additional ways to prevent yourself from being a victim of identity theft. Please hold your questions until the end of the presentation, and then I'll stick around also after the event to answer additional questions. I know some people did submit some questions in advance, and we'll try to make sure we get to those during the presentation. Okay. Before we get started, a few brief notes. I'm going to mention several vendors tonight. These are not endorsements from the Village of Skokie or the Police Department. We're not recommending or endorsing anyone. These are just known in the security industry. They are trusted by the cybersecurity community. You should do your own research on which vendor, if any of them, you do any sort of business with, if any of them are right for you. I also want to thank John Klossner and Randall Monroe, who generously granted their permission to use their works free of charge in this presentation. All right. Myth number one, security is magic. All right. We think of computers as these things that we don't understand, we don't know how they work, and therefore it's magic. But it's not magic. Security definitely is not magic. It's mostly common sense. There's basically three simple ideas. Keep your software up to date. Year after year, unpatched software vulnerabilities are the most common contributing factor in hacks. Keep your software up to date. This typically means enabling automatic updates on any of your critical software. So your operating system, right? Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, etc. Microsoft Office, Acrobat, Java, antivirus, and anti-spyware. Set up automatic updates on your apps on your phones and tablets. If you get your applications on your phone, from an app store. On your desktop or laptop, if you get them from the Microsoft Store, the Windows Store, the Google Play Store, the Mac App Store, again, enable automatic updates. Any software that has its own built-in automatic update function, enable it. This is the best way to prevent yourself from getting compromised due to old software that has vulnerabilities. That'll take care of it by itself. Web browser. This is a big one. Keep your web browser up to date and use an ad blocker. There are numerous options out there. Some web browsers have built-in ad blockers. Those are great. Lots of malicious ads out there. We call it malvertising. It's malicious advertising. It's designed to get you to click on an ad that looks like a legitimate ad, but it's not legitimate. What it really does is when you click on it, it tries to exploit some vulnerability in your out-of-date web browser on your out-of-date operating system and install malware on your computer. Computers aren't cars. They don't need tune-ups. They don't need oil changes. Basically, unless you have a hardware failure, you really don't need to do much maintenance. Physical cleaning is really the only notable exception to this. Heat kills computers, so keep fans clear of dust and dirt. A can of compressed air will do wonders for this kind of stuff. There are a lot of computers now that just don't even have any fans. They're fanless. They don't have spinning hard drives. They don't have anything that gets super hot, and they're low power. So they don't even have fans anymore. Maybe they have some vents. Keep those vents clear. this is kind of the way people used to think about computers was it was just another machine that needed to be cared for, but it's really very different. There's no physical aspect of it that's that sensitive anymore. Right, like I said, fans. If you get a pop-up that says you have a problem on your computer and offering to fix it, don't trust it. Modern computers and modern operating systems are designed to take care of themselves, clean up all this stuff and fix it on their own. So if you get any sort of pop-up or ad saying, hey, something is wrong, click here to fix it, call this number to fix it, pay us $50 and we'll fix it, it's almost certainly a scam. If you're not sure, feel free to reach out to someone who's a little more tech savvy. You can always call a trusted local expert. There's numerous businesses in the area that do this sort of thing. They'll do computer repair and care for you. You probably don't need to go to them proactively for anything, like I said, but if you do have suspicion that you have a virus or you get some sort of pop-up and you're not sure what to do about it and you've rebooted already and it's still coming back, that kind of thing, give them a call. Most of them will give you some basic advice over the phone for free, and if not, they'll ask you to bring it in and they can take a look for you. Registry cleaners are terrible. This was something way back in the past that for a while was useful before the operating systems were able to handle themselves and clean stuff up by themselves. Now it's just a way to take your money. At best, it's just a way to take your money, I should mention. At worst, they can seriously damage your operating system, requiring you to completely reinstall everything, potentially losing data. And if the registry cleaner itself is compromised, now you've just installed malware on your computer. Tech support scams are a big thing. It's not the IRS, it's not Microsoft, it's not Apple. None of them will call you, none of them will pop up any message on your computer, none of them will email you telling you that you need their help and asking you to pay them, right? The only thing that's going to happen from, let's say, Microsoft or Apple is if you have a subscription to one of their services, they might email you saying, hey, your subscription is due for renewal, right? But you already know that you subscribe to the service and that it's coming up for renewal. That's pretty trustworthy, right? But if you just get an email out of the blue, hey, Microsoft says your Microsoft Office needs to be renewed, and you don't use Microsoft Office, or you know that you just renewed it 3 months ago, something's wrong. Typically what they want to do is these people pretend to be a trusted authority, and they try to get you to contact them. They want you to call them, they want you to email them, they want you to click on the link, they want you to give them lots of information. They're going to ask for your credit card number so you can pay them for the service. They're going to ask for your email address so that they can send you a file to run. They're going to have you download this file and run it on their computer so they can remotely help you, right? It's all just designed to take your money, take your identity, and compromise your machine. So don't trust them. If something's not running well, like I said, call a reputable local service. Use passkeys. Passkeys wherever possible. You should store these on a hardware device like a phone, tablet, computer, or hardware key. These are the replacement for passwords. When you can't use a passkey, use a strong, unique password and multi-factor authentication. Talk a little bit more about those. Passkeys are extremely long, complex numbers that use very, very complex math. Math that is really, really easy to go in one direction, really, really hard to go in the other direction. So it's really hard for computers to crack these numbers and break in, right? So the passkey is something that no person is ever going to be able to remember, and they're designed that way. You're not supposed to remember them, your device remembers them for you, and your device stores them in a secure place on the device where it can't be compromised, or ideally, and shouldn't be able to be compromised, right? We never know. There's always new vulnerabilities coming out, which is why we have to update things. Passwords, on the other hand, can be compromised fairly easily, right? You put your password into a website, now that website has your password. Now, if that was the legitimate website, okay, no problem. But if that was a phishing site designed to steal your password, you just gave your password to the bad guys. Passkeys don't have that problem. Your computer knows what site they work on and won't send them anywhere else. If you do have to use a password, use a strong one, a unique one. You don't want to use the same password on multiple sites, and enable multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is basically something that makes it so that even if someone gets your username and password, they can't get into your accounts, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But this is part of the reason why we don't like passwords. Hang on a second. What's going on here? Okay. Don't use weak common passwords. Common passwords are passwords that lots of people use. I'll try to pull up a picture here in a minute of most common passwords in 2024. Complex passwords are good, right? They're better than simple passwords. If your password is the word password, it's pretty easy for someone to crack that. They only have, if they're trying to brute force it, which means trying every possible combination until they get to find your password, it's a limited number, right? They just go through all the lowercase letters and eventually they get to it. They just work their way up. Making it complex, let's say we replace the A in password with a 4, right? And we replace the O with a 0. Okay, it's a little more complex now. Instead of 26 possible characters for the password, there are now 36 possible characters because you have all the lowercase letters and all the numerals. If you add uppercase letters and special characters in, you make it even better, right? So you increase the complexity of the password, you make it harder to crack. However, longer is better, and here's why. When you add more types of characters and more options for each individual character, you are linearly increasing the difficulty of cracking that password, right? So if a password is 1 character long, there are only 26 possible combinations. If the password is one lowercase letter long. If it's 1 lowercase or numeral, now it's 36 possible passwords. You add uppercase characters into that, right? You've got 62 possible. So every character you're adding, or every type of character you're adding, increases the complexity by 1. If you add 1 character to the length of the password, now you're exponentially increasing the complexity of that password and the difficulty of breaking it. So a longer password, a 2-character password, that's all lowercase letters, is 26 squared, compared to 1 character that could be uppercase, lowercase, number, or special character, which maybe is, you're talking 72, 80 possible characters, right? So by just increasing the length, you make it much, much harder to crack, and you make it easier to remember, right? How many of us can remember password with special characters, and we replaced the A with a 4, we replaced the O with a 0, maybe we stuck an exclamation point in there somewhere. Which of those characters are uppercase, which of them are lowercase? That's hard to remember. But if I just say, this is my extremely strong password, all lowercase, right? That's really easy to remember, and it's much, much harder to crack. With that said, don't use the same password twice. This is a very common way that people get compromised. One site gets hacked, they now have all the usernames and all the passwords for everybody who used that site. Now they take that username and password combination that they found and they try it on another site. So you used your email address and some generic password that you like to use on Facebook, and Facebook got hacked. And now somebody takes that username and password and they try it at your bank, and they just got in because that was the username and password you use everywhere. And they get into your email account, and they get into your phone, they get into everything. So different passwords for different sites. Now that gets really complicated because who can remember 1,000 different passwords, right? Use a password manager. LastPass, KeePass, 1Password. Android and iOS have password managers built in now. Chrome has a password manager built in. Firefox has a password manager built in. Edge, Safari, right? All the major web browsers. Windows, Apple, Mac OS, everybody's got password managers built in now. Find the one that works for you based on the cost and the feature set. Some are free, some have a cost. Find what works for you. What these do is you remember one single password. This is your vault password, your master password. You use this to unlock the vault that has all of your passwords in it. Think of it like if you had 1,000 different usernames and passwords that you had to write down on individual little slips of paper. And then you stuck all those slips of paper into a safe. Anytime you want to get into that safe, you only need to know the safe combination. You open the safe, you take out the piece of paper you want, you type in the username and password, you put it back in. You don't have to remember anything that's in the safe. All you have to remember is how to get into the safe. Enable multi-factor authentication everywhere. If it has the option to enable multi-factor authentication, enable it. And here's kind of why that is. When your password is compromised, and I say when, not if, when your password is compromised, this will prevent the attackers from getting in. Okay? There are a couple of different types of multi-factor authentication. We'll talk about them. SMS is kind of the basic, most common one that people use. This will text a number to your phone. When you try to log in, you put in your username, you put in your password, you click log in, it's going to say, we're sending a message to your phone. They already know your phone number because you gave it to them when you signed up. They send a message, comes with a 6-digit code usually. You type that 6-digit code in, and now you can get in. Someone who doesn't have your phone won't be able to get that code, won't be able to get into your account. They're not the best because phones can be hacked. I can steal your phone number, no problem. If I go to the T-Mobile store, the Verizon store, I give the guy $500 in cash and say, hey, I want this phone number. Can you just put it on my phone? How many of them are going to be, going to do that for $500 cash, right? I mean, they're not the most well-compensated people, so they are susceptible to bribery. Now, that's not to say that most of them, or even a lot of them, would do that, but it only takes one, right? I just have to find one guy who does it, and now I go to him every time. With that said, it's better than nothing. Nobody who is attacking you directly knows who you are realistically, right? These are cyber criminals on the other side of the world. They're not going into the T-Mobile store to get your phone number. Software authenticator apps are better. This is an app you run on your phone. When you sign up, you scan a QR code on the screen. It stores a secret code that's quite complex and long in your phone. The website stores it on their end. Every time you open it, it'll show you a 6-digit number for that account. That number changes every 30 seconds. Again, without that code, nobody can log in. Hardware tokens, these are the best thing. So this is something like this. This is called a YubiKey. There are other types of hardware tokens out there. Basically what this is a little device that plugs into your computer and it stores a code on it. The passkey, basically, right, like we talked about earlier, is stored on this device. And this device, you can't take the code off of. So unlike a phone or a computer where you can transfer things from one to another, you cannot transfer the code from this device. So nobody can compromise this device and take anything off it. If I lose this device and I find it later, somebody could have tried to use it, but I can be sure that nobody got the information off of it. You are the first line of defense. Your personal and private information is just that, personal and private. It should stay that way. Don't post pictures of your tax paperwork, your medical bills, credit cards, bank statements. Don't post pictures of house keys. This is a thing that I see a lot of kids doing these days, is, especially young adults who get their first house, they post a picture of their keys. Well, I can look them up online, find their address, and using the image of their keys that they posted, I can make a copy of that key. So now I have their address and I have a key to their house, right? If I was a nefarious actor, I could get in and steal everything. Don't post credit cards, IDs, license plates, right? Anything personal and private should stay that way. This probably would work. Shouldn't do it. Right? Just post your tax information online. Make it easy for the criminals. Your network is larger than you think. Anything you post online can and often will be reposted and reshared by your friends. Don't post it online if you don't want it public, right? Even if you have your your profile locked down so that nobody but your friends can see it, you can't control what your friends do with what they see. Anyone can download a picture, take a screenshot of it. You have no control. Once it's online, it's nearly impossible to remove. There are lots of companies that offer to help you remove things from the internet. By and large, it's a scam. Absent a court order, you can't force someone to take something offline in general. And even with a court order, you can't get anyone to take something offline if they're not in the jurisdiction of the court, right? So if there's a site in Russia that's hosting this material, U.S. court's going to have not going to be able to do anything about it. So don't put it online if you don't want it to be online, and once it's there, there's nothing you can do about it, basically. Anything that's on your social media profile can be used to impersonate you. Do you have your family members listed on your social media? Is your uncle, niece, grandchild a connection? Did you share your mother's maiden name by sharing your family connections? How many people use their mother's maiden name as a security code for their bank or for their phone or something like that, right? What about your birthplace? Is that on your profile? Your siblings' names? Anything you post online can be used to impersonate you. I'm sure Officer Wilkin will talk more about this from the identity theft perspective. Be careful what you share. Know your threat model. This is a big thing. Know what your risks are. We have a limited time and resources to spend defending ourselves, so we need to make sure we spend them where they'll be the most effective. There are 3 classes of threat actors, and the defenses against them are not identical. So first of all, you have family, friends, coworkers. These are people who have physical access to your devices. They could pick up your phone. You may even lend it to them, right? They can sit down at your computer. You may lend it to them. But these are also people you trust for the most part. You still might want to keep some things private from them, but they're probably not out to get you, right? They're the most common threat you face, but they're also the least motivated and the least sophisticated. The risk is relatively low. The best defense is a strong password, and lock your screen. That's really all you need to do. The next is cyber criminals. So these are the traditional hackers we talk about. They cast a wide net. They send out, 100,000 emails to every email address they can scrape off the internet, and they just hope you'll get caught in their net. They're phishing. They're doing ransomware. They don't know who you are. They're trying to steal your identity, but not you specifically, right? They're just trying to steal anyone's identity. And then they'll sell it on the black web, right? On the black market, on the dark web. Luckily, they don't care about you specifically. They don't even know about you. The best defense against these people, passkeys or strong passwords with multi-factor authentication. And of course, a healthy amount of common sense. Don't click on links promising rich rewards for little to no work or risk. Don't answer emails from Nigerian princes who need your help getting large sums of money out of the country. Kind of a funny side note about that, there was a case about 10 years ago, a little less, where a Nigerian government official was arrested with $2 million in cash in his apartment. So like the one guy who legitimately was trying to get the money out, right? But realistically, if you get that email, it's a scam. But yeah, passkey, strong password, multi-factor, and common sense. The last one here, the last threat actor, and we don't really have to worry about this here. These are state actors, right? This is the CIA, the KGB, right? To defend against them, just enable advanced encryption and self-destruct features on your device, right? But seriously, there's nothing you can do to defend yourself against these people. If they want what you have, they're just going to kidnap you. But they also don't care about us. We don't have anything they want, right? We don't have national security secrets. We're not, running Fortune 500 companies and have billions of dollars, under our control. We are not who they're looking for. If you are who they're looking for, you will have lots of people helping you to defend against them, right? The government will give you lots of information on how to defend against them if you have national security secrets, right? If you work for a Fortune 500 company, you have access to, billions of dollars worth of information or money. Your corporate security team is going to be helping you with this. We don't have to worry about that. With that said, know when to ask for help, right? You've already taken the first step. You came to this event. Google, Microsoft, Apple, and the federal government, and numerous other entities provide free online resources to help you stay safe. The National Cybersecurity Alliance has a website. It's called staysafeonline.org. They have videos, webinars, tip sheets, and other resources. I highly recommend it. If you think you've been compromised, contact the police. Your first call if you think you've been compromised, and not just, hey, maybe something happened, I'm not sure, right? First, if you don't know what's going on, call someone who knows what they're doing. Call, like I said, a trusted local, local provider, or a trusted friend or family member who knows computers. Once you know that, hey, this looks legitimate, like I've actually been compromised, you call the Skokie Police. You don't call the FBI, you don't call the Secret Service. Skokie Police will handle that, right? They'll pass it on up the chain if it's appropriate. Also, FBI and Secret Service are not going to come out to your house to help you, right? They don't have the resources to come to everybody. Skokie Police will, will have the resources to help you. And Officer Wilkin will provide more information on what to do if you have been compromised, right? During his part of the presentation. This is what really happens if you try to defend against the CIA, right? They're just gonna beat it out of you, so don't worry about it. Okay, don't get phished, all right? If only it were this easy to stop the phishers, right? Phishing is malicious email designed to trick you into taking an action. That action could be giving them information. It could be downloading something. It could be giving them money. Right? There's lots of different ways to get phished. They all have different goals. Like I said, it could be the Nigerian prince. He wants your personal info so he can send you all that money. What he really wants is your personal info so he can sell it and try to leverage that until you get more out of you. He wants your social security number, your banking information, right? Sometimes they'll say, hey, send me money so that I can send you money, right? I'm gonna send you $20 million, but first I need $500 so I can ship this to you, right? It's a scam. You might get an email saying, hey, your email account is out of space. Click here to get more storage space. It's probably a scam. They want you to click there, and then they're going to ask you to log in. And what do you need to log in with? Your username and password for your email. But it's not your email provider. It's a scam site designed to harvest your username and password. Doesn't matter how strong your password is if you give it away, right? You give your password away, it could be 1,000 characters long and completely complex, but you just gave it to them. They don't need to crack it. This is why passkeys are the future, why I highly recommend them over passwords wherever possible. Because again, your computer knows which sites to send it to and won't send it to an unauthorized site. Makes it a lot harder to steal. Someone might say they're sending you money via PayPal. They want you to click here to get the money. Well, they want your PayPal account, or they want your bank information. How many of us have got your package can't be delivered without more information email, right? All the time. Or text messages too, right? These come in via text as well. Again, they want information from you, or they want you to pay. You need to pay $5 and we'll release the package. So most people are gonna be like, okay, $5 to release the package, no big deal. But you're out $5 and they've done that to thousands of people, right? Tens of thousands of people. They also might want your home address and phone number. Now they can do a better job of scamming you and phishing. They can call you up and pretend to be someone that you know. Remember all that information you posted on your social media? Now they're pretending to be a friend of yours who you frequently interact with online but hasn't posted online in 2 weeks. And they're saying, hey, I'm John Smith and I got, I'm out of town and I got robbed and I have no money and I can't get home. Can you wire me $1,000 so I can get home? Right? This happens. People get scammed all the time. They'll tell you owe money to the government. Right? The IRS scams, you owe taxes. And if you don't pay us within the next 24 hours, we're going to come to your house and arrest you. Or they may ask for your social security number, your address. They want your tax information. They want you to send them money, right? This was supposed to show up earlier, but this is how long it takes to crack a password if you get phished, right? Doesn't matter how long or complex it is. You gave it away, it's gone. Antivirus is enough. No, it's not. Back in the good old days, right, it was pretty hard to get into someone's computer. Things weren't online, or if they were only online very briefly on a dial-up connection. Everything's online all the time now. The software has gotten so complex, it's really, really easy to get compromised, even with up-to-date antivirus. There are 3 basic vectors that this happens. Number 1, you got tricked. Most compromises are people downloading the virus themselves. In 2023, 90% of malware infections involved human error. I've seen very smart, very experienced, seasoned cybersecurity professionals fall for all sorts of schemes, right? Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter what kind of controls you have in place. A human can always make things terrible. So we have to be smart, okay? But luckily, it's not that hard. It just takes a healthy dose of skepticism. You could get tricked by a malicious email that was sent by a friend's infected computer. So it came from their email address, right? An email by someone claiming to be the authorities. Could be from the police department, from the village, from the IRS, right? If somebody's emailing you something and they're the authorities, they're probably not going to include something for you to download and run. If there's an email with an attachment, be skeptical, right? If it's a PDF attachment or an image attachment, be a little skeptical, but those are generally safe to open from your email. Don't click on any links in them until you're sure that it's safe, right, and it is legitimate. You get an email every week from the Village of Skokie, right? Sometimes there's a PDF linked or attached. You're expecting to get that. That's fine. If you get an email from the Skokie Police and it says, click here to find information about someone who was seen in your area, right? Download this zip file with images of them. If nobody from the police department has contacted you and you haven't contacted the police department and you don't know about this already, it's probably not the police department. They're not going to send you an email like that, right? It's not something the authorities do. You clicked on a pop-up, right? You were browsing the web, something popped up, said click here to fix something. You clicked on it, it downloaded something. That happens. You installed something from a disreputable site. This happens a lot. People who use primarily like media piracy sites, pornography sites. These are classic vectors for getting compromised. Although somewhat ironically, the pornography sites are now some of the safest sites because they take their business very seriously. But certainly a lot of the media piracy sites frequently have disreputable things in them. People are downloading all sorts of stuff from them anyway, and so the cyber criminals get onto those sites either with or without the cooperation of those sites and upload malware. You can get kitted. This is specially designed websites that test your computer for vulnerabilities. This is why it's so important to update your software and automatically update it, right? In some cases, it'll do this within seconds and without you knowing. These are called exploit kits. They are big business and highly effective. Luckily, these are very, very rare because up-to-date software is not vulnerable to these known, right? They test for known vulnerabilities. You keep your website, you keep your software up to date, the website's gonna probe your computer and it's not gonna find anything. This will happen when you click on a link and right, somebody posts something on Facebook, you click on it, turns out it was actually not posted by the person you thought it was, but it was their account got compromised because they clicked on a malicious link from someone else, right? And this kind of perpetuates on. Think of it like kind of like a chain letter. Could be a legitimate website. You could go to CNN.com, right? And their website was compromised. And now there's malware on their website. And their website is probing you for your computer for vulnerabilities. But again, if your software's up to date, you're probably fine. Could be a website that looks legitimate. This is actually very common. There's something called domain typo squatting, which is if you typo a domain name, it used to be that it just wouldn't load because nobody had that domain name, right? If you typed in, Microsoft.com, but instead of Microsoft, you wrote Microsoft, you left the T off, it just wouldn't load because nobody had that. Well, now somebody has that, and it might be a cyber criminal, and they might be hoping that you're trying to get to Microsoft.com and you're going to log in there. You click on Microsoft, it shows up just like Microsoft.com, and you log in because you don't know anything wrong, right? You didn't notice your typo. Again, this is where passkeys are helpful. Passkeys won't work on Microsoft.com if they're designed for Microsoft.com. Password, it would work. Most password managers, I should point out, won't autofill it. It'll say, I don't recognize this domain name as being associated with this username and password, so I'm not going to fill it in. You could, theoretically, copy and paste it in and get compromised, but it's kind of another step to make you pause and say, hey, why is my password manager not filling this in automatically? You could have outdated software, right? This is really common. Again, you keep your software up to date, and none of these things are going to affect you most of the time. I can't say ever because of the next slide, which is you can get 0 days. 0 days are undisclosed or unknown programming errors and applications causing vulnerabilities. We call these 0 days because once the flaw is disclosed, the developer and the users have 0 days to mitigate against exploitation. These are extremely rare. In 2022, over 26,000 vulnerabilities were announced. Yeah. Only in 2022, 26,000 vulnerabilities were announced. 97 of those were 0 days. So the vast majority of these vulnerabilities that were announced had already been reported to the manufacturers of the software and had already been patched, and updates had been rolled out before the vulnerabilities were announced publicly or anybody knew about them, including cybercriminals. This is one way that cybercriminals can get in. This is why we don't open attachments that we weren't expecting, right? Because even though the computer's probably not going to get compromised if you open a bad attachment, because it's probably not vulnerable anymore if you've been doing your updates, which you've been doing your updates now, right? But this is how you get compromised, so we just don't open those attachments that we weren't specifically asking for. Digital means no data loss. That's definitely not true, right? You think there's data loss on this computer, right? The only way to ensure you don't lose data is to back it up. The lifespan of a hard drive is anywhere from 5 minutes to 10 years, give or take. That's why they all come with warranties. It's really not a question of if, but when your hardware is going to fail. Even modern solid-state storage can fail for a variety of reasons. Heat is a big one. Physical damage is another one, right? Wear and tear, right? Physical damage. Back your stuff up. You can also have data corruption. Magnets aren't permanent. The magnetic fields degrade over time. Malicious software can delete or modify the information on your computer. This is what ransomware does, right? They encrypt all the data on your computer, and then they tell you if you want your data back, you need to pay us. Modern ransomware even exfiltrates your data so that not only do you have to pay them to get it back, but they say, hey, we have all of your personal private information, and if you don't pay us, we're going to put it online for everybody to see. All your tax paperwork for the last 20 years, anything sensitive, embarrassing, they're going to put it online. Other types of malware will just destroy your data. They're not trying to get anything out of you. They just want to cause trouble. You could have software error, system crash, could delete or corrupt data. If your computer even if you don't have a complete failure of your computer, if you have a document open and your computer crashes and it suddenly reboots because something happened, any document that you had open at the time could be compromised. You might lose all that data. It could be corrupted. You might delete it, right? You might accidentally delete something. You might make a change to a file and save the change and then realize a little bit later, whoops, I just removed something, I deleted something, I changed something that I shouldn't have. I want to go back and get that, get it the way it was. Sorry, it's gone. Can't do anything about it. Unless you have backups. Right? I didn't mean to delete it. I hit save instead of save as. I emptied the trash. I forgot that I had deleted something, and I realized I needed it later, but then I emptied the trash instead of undeleting it. It's gone. There are some extremely expensive data recovery options that sometimes work. Most of the time they don't. Don't lose your data. Back it up. So how do you prevent the data loss? Well, there's a couple options. There's something called RAID. This is a redundant array of independent disks. This uses multiple disks to act as one. Certain types of RAID will protect you if a subset of the drives fail. It's important to note, this increases fault tolerance, right? It protects against individual drive failure, and it's not generally available on mobile devices, including phones, tablets, laptops. It's also not available on desktops if you only have one drive. It's also not a backup solution. It protects against data loss due to drive failure. It does not protect against corruption, deletion, modification, or the entire device being destroyed. You can do a local backup. This is where you back up to an external drive. Could be a flash drive, could be network attached storage, something on your network or device that plugs in. Apple calls this time machine, where they automatically back up to a device that's on your network. You can also use it with a device that's plugged in. Windows has some features for this now as well. These are great. Tape and optical drives, way less common now. Some people might still have CD burners in their desktops. You could burn information to a CD, right? This will protect against ransomware. This will protect against the device being destroyed, lost, right? All that sort of stuff. It's probably not going to protect against a fire in your house, right? It's not going to protect against a flood. But it's a pretty good option to have. They're also very, very cheap in the long run, right? You have one device, you buy an external hard drive and you use it for 5 years. And you can have backups going back, days, weeks, even months, sometimes even years, if you have, depending on how you set up your backups. So these are really, really nice to have. You can do cloud backup. I highly recommend cloud backup. Cloud document storage is pretty easy. You can use like Google Drive, iCloud, Dropbox, OneDrive, Box.com. These are kind of the 5 biggest. There's lots of other options out there. They generally provide free storage up to a certain limit, 5 to 15 gigabytes usually, which is why they're good for document storage, not great for backing up your whole computer. Great for backing up non-sensitive data, photos usually, that kind of stuff. They're also really good for file sharing and collaboration. You can pay more if you need more storage. You can get plans up to multiple terabytes of storage. Terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes, by the way. There's also cloud backup providers. Backblaze and CrashPlan are kind of the 2 biggest ones, most popular industry accepted ones. They'll store unlimited data for a fee. It starts sometimes as little as $5 a month. It can go up really high, depending on how much storage you need. Data typically cannot be shared. All data is encrypted before it leaves your computer. They don't have the encryption keys. You can re-download the data when you need it. Some of them will ship you a physical device with the data if you end up needing it. So if you've uploaded all your data to one of these providers, right, and your house burns down, you can buy a new computer, you call them up, or realistically, you log into the website and you say, hey, I need to get all my data back, and it's too much to download. So here, ship me a hard drive that has all my data on it, right? And you plug it into your new computer, you put in your password and your encryption key and everything, which you should have backed up elsewhere, by the way, and then it'll all load back onto your computer. Personally, I think a combination of these three options is the best. I have in my computer, I have a RAID array which backs up nightly to a network attached storage which is in my house, and anything that's really critical that I cannot afford to lose, I back it up to the cloud. This gives me the benefit of having weeks or months of backups that I can roll back to. If I lose a drive, I'm not down at all. I just put in a new drive and it keeps working. And anything that's really sensitive that I could not afford to lose if I had a catastrophic problem in the house, that's all stored online. So even if the house burns down, I'm not losing that stuff. But I don't put all my most sensitive stuff directly into the cloud, right? I encrypt it first so that nobody else can get access to it. There were also a couple of questions. Let me get to those real quick before we open it up to else. Okay, I will let. How does someone conduct a clean sweep to check if you're on the dark web, if your identity is compromised? And can you get someone other than the credit report centers to do this for you? Yeah, so there are definitely services that will do this for you. They'll scrub the dark, they'll scrub the dark web looking for your identity, your information. There's not really anything they can do about it other than tell you about it, right? Like I said, once it's online, it can't really be removed. But at least you would know, right? You do not want to be going out there searching the dark web on your own. There's a lot of malware on the dark web, a lot of illegal content. Just stay off it, right? Let the professionals look for it. With that said, just assume your identity is compromised. Just assume that your identity is out there. The credit bureaus have all been hacked. The federal government has been hacked. I think every single American's personal information is out there on the dark web somewhere. So don't pay for someone to look for it for you, just know that it's out there. And take the appropriate steps to prevent your identity from being compromised, right? Just because the identity is out there doesn't mean your identity is stolen. Definitely check your credit reports, right? You get a free credit report. Each bureau has to, by law, provide you with your copy of your credit report once a year for free. They all do it monthly now, basically for free, even though they're, that's, kind of crazy for anyone to be looking at their credit report every month. But keep an eye on it. There's lots of services out there also where you can sign up for credit monitoring. Everybody, I guarantee you in this room, everybody's eligible for free credit monitoring associated with a data breach in the last 24 months. Anytime you get a letter or an email, your data was compromised, here's your free credit monitoring for the next 12 months, whatever. Those are so common. There's also websites out there that do this for you in exchange for, effectively, you're giving them the right to use your data to do advertising and data mining and studies and research and all that sort of stuff. And in exchange, they give you free access to your credit report. Your bank probably gives you free access to your credit report. Use these services. Definitely check with your bank first. I mean, these are great things so you know if someone's using your credit. And freeze your credit report. Unless you expect to be opening a credit card or a loan or a mortgage or something in the next 2 weeks, your credit should be frozen. There's no reason not to. It's free. It's easy. Where is the most risk for info to be compromised? Text, email. Probably email is the most risky, just because people click on emails, right? You open an email and you click a link. People do this without thinking. You can get metrics when you send out mass email campaigns. You can get metrics on how fast your emails are opened and how fast the links are clicked. I sent out a mass email to a group yesterday. Within about 30 seconds of clicking send, 10% of the people had opened the email and 3% had clicked on the links in the email. Is that really enough time to scrutinize an email and say, is this legitimate? Should I be opening it or clicking on it? Probably not, right? People do this all the time. Take your time, slow down, right? Don't get tricked. Text, you can get scammed via text really easily, right? You're probably not going to get hacked via text. Again, unless it's the CIA hacking you, or KGB, like that's a little different. But this doesn't happen typically. Once a resident files a report for cyber fraud, what does the police department do to investigate? Officer Wilton will talk about that. When or if to get the police involved? Okay, yep. Officer Wilton. What are the ways that bad actors get your credit card info? Well, credit cards are 16-digit numbers. There's a limited number of them. I can literally go right now, type a few lines of code into my computer, and generate every possible credit card number ever. Really easy. I can then try those on all sorts of different sites. I can guess at expiration dates. It's really, really easy to do that, but it's a lot of work. Most of the time, the way they get compromised, they hack the website. If you sign up for a subscription to something and they're recurring billing you, they have your credit card number stored. Well, their website gets hacked, your credit card number just got compromised. Or you put it into a malicious site, or you used it at the gas station and there was a skimmer on there, right? There's so many ways for them to get hacked. On the bright side, you're not liable, right? If your credit card is compromised, you're not liable for those charges. Make sure you're going over your statement, or even better, get an email or a text message every time your card is used. That's what I have set up with my bank. Anytime my card's used, I get an email right like that. And I can be like, oh yeah, that was me, or hang on a second, I didn't do that. Call my wife up, hey, did you do this? Because I don't recognize it. Yeah, okay, no. All right, we're gonna call the bank and say this wasn't us. With that said, the banks are very, very, very good about detecting and preventing fraud these days. Most of the time, they're gonna contact you and say, hey, we blocked this transaction because it looked like fraud. Was it you or not? Before you even know anything is wrong, right? They're gonna send you a new card and say, your card was compromised, we're sending you a new one. It's a hassle, but change all your card numbers everywhere. When a bank asks for a social security number when opening a new account, do they do a cross-check against the photo ID to make sure the two match up with the same person? They're supposed to. There's something called Know Your Customer laws, which is that financial institutions are required to validate the identity of their customers. They should be matching up your identity. I don't know that necessarily includes a social security number, it kind of depends. But they should be validating that you are who you say you are. But with that said, you know how easy it is to make a fake ID? If I get your name and your social security number, I can go open a bank account in your name, no problem. I go into the bank, I show the fake ID with your name and my photo, and the social security number matches the name, matches the date of birth, right? That's all there is to it. But it's not that common unless you are specifically being targeted or have given your social security number and name to a particular attacker. And again, you're not liable for any of that stuff. Can you tell us about the National Consumer Telecom and Utilities? Yes. Okay, the National Consumer Telecom and Utilities Exchange is a credit bureau, effectively, for utility companies. So, just like the bank is going to run your credit report when you try to open a loan or open a new credit card, there's a credit bureau, right, for the phone company and the gas company and the electric company and all this sort of stuff. There's actually a couple different types of credit bureaus. Yeah, freeze your credit at all of them. There's no reason not to unless you expect to be opening new accounts, in the near future, right? And all of them offer the ability to freeze and unfreeze your credit online. Some of them within minutes. You can go on to Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, log in, freeze your credit report, and then it'll stay frozen. You decide you want to apply for a credit card, you go onto the website, you say, unfreeze my credit report. It says, okay, your credit report is unfrozen. You click apply for that credit card, they pull your credit report, you get the decision, okay, freeze my credit report again, right? Within seconds. It's not a hassle like it used to be. And password creation, okay. Use passkeys, first of all, instead of passwords. When you have to use a password, use long, complex passwords. Save them in your password manager. Another benefit of password managers, Password Manager will generate a secure password for you, and then it will store that password for you. So you don't even have to worry about creating a complex password. You let the Password Manager do it for you. Again, these are built into all the major operating systems, all the major web browsers. Your phone has one, and there are multiple third-party cross-platform solutions. I recommend any of them. They're all great. If you are not going to use a password manager and you're not going to use passkeys and you're just going to use passwords that you create yourself and you remember or you write them down, it's still a great idea to use different passwords everywhere. And a good way to do this is add the name of the site to a base password. So if my base password is password123 and I'm going to use it on Google, I might do Google password123. That's my password on Google, right? Now, if my password is compromised on Google, my password on Facebook isn't Google password123, it's Facebook password123, so it's not going to work. And nobody's manually trying these and going through them and being like, oh, it says Google password123, let me try Facebook password123, right? These are automated systems doing it hundreds of thousands, millions of records at a time, so they're not going to make that connection. With that said, again, they're not as good as long, complex passwords that you don't even remember and can't possibly remember, and the password manager remembers it for you, or passkeys, because AI is starting to enable some attacks where I could do something like that. I could say, look at this list of passwords. If it looks like the password is created with a site name, give me that password with the site name swapped for a different site, right? And then I'm going to try that one. So that method is less secure than it used to be. It's still way better than just using the same password everywhere. Okay, that's it for my part of the presentation. I will stick around, obviously. Any additional questions for me after Officer Wilkin finishes his part of the presentation?
You guys ready to be more depressed? So, I see in my role every report, right? And I see all the things that people are falling victim to. And some of them are very heartbreaking, some of them are very simple. But kind of the common denominator in the majority of them is people are giving their things away, right? Whether it's their passwords, their PIN codes, they're giving them away. So I was taking notes while Avi was talking, and just because I didn't really want to go off of a PowerPoint today, I really wanted to kind of shoot from the hip and speak to what we see here in Skokie, what gets reported to me. And I could start off and give you kind of some facts about if you're the victim of an identity theft. Not just in Skokie, probably through the US. Your information is out there. We're just trying to mitigate, minimize. Your information's out there, mine's out there. Right? If you're over the age of 18 and you've had credit in your name at any point in your life, and you have a social security number, or any type of identifying information, it's out there. It's just a matter of when someone happens upon it to use it. A lot of identity theft related crimes or thefts by deception are not even reported to us. We don't know about them. My guess is that I would say more than half go unreported. Just seeing what I see and then seeing other types of reports that we take. You know, recently we were getting a lot of residents that started contacting us for a email scam that was going around saying, hey, we know what you've been up to. Has anybody received this one? It'll be a JPEG or an attachment on the email, and it'll have a Google Street View photo of your home. We've been watching you. We know what you're up to. We can make it all go away for a small price. I only accept Bitcoin, etc., etc. How many people think to themselves, you know what, maybe I did do something stupid, and if this goes away and it only costs me a couple bucks, then I'm okay with that. Definitely it happens. Or there's people, you know, in our village, other villages, that you know, they didn't grow up with technology. Every day it's changing. I'm listening to Avi talk about backup systems and all that. I don't know half of any of that. And majority of you probably don't either. So there's a lot of things that we can all learn, right? We have to be advocates for ourselves. And I try to be an advocate for everyone in here and all the residents by constantly learning what's going on. So I have Google alerts in my newsfeed set up with keywords, right? New Bitcoin scam, cryptocurrency something, right? And this morning we were talking about in here about, you know, people that know better falling victim to scams. There was one that just came out in Kansas. A banker had embezzled out of his own bank. He was a partner in the bank. $46 or $47 million. And the feds were able to recover 8.3. This is in like Wichita, Kansas, where he was involved in what they call a pig butchering scam. Probably started as a romance scam. Invest alongside me, and we're going to make money together. You have money, I have money. Together we can make a lot of money. Then towards the end, he starts taking, even he had money in it. He was taking customers' money out of the bank. And he was watching a fake account profile grow. So he's thinking, hey, I can't lose. Maybe I'll just take a little bit more. It's like gambling becomes an addiction. And as he sees those numbers grow, throws a little bit more in there. And then eventually, well, you know what? Maybe I ought to get that money back out. And I see this time and time again. And people, your neighbors are losing big amounts of money that the probability is we're not getting it back. One of your neighbors here in the village invested $400,000 initially into a cryptocurrency investment scheme, let's call it a scheme, through someone that contacted him on LinkedIn. You think LinkedIn, that's where business professionals put their online resume looking to network with other people for legitimate business. But somebody contacted him and exploited one of his vulnerabilities, which was, he's an older guy, he was single, this person was attractive, so he let his guard down. And talked him into investing $400,000 initially, and then show him a fake profile of the investment platform, watching his money grow. Now, if anybody follows the markets, we just had a presidential election. The results came out, the market kind of turned up a little bit. Does anybody find themselves checking their accounts a little bit more often? Yeah. So think about doing that, and then think about this guy as he starts watching his account grow. Hey, this is looking pretty good. right? I'm gonna turn $400,000, and shortly thereafter, it was 800,000, then it went up. And so the scammer was able to convince him to send in another $400,000. Now we're at $800,000. And he sends it off, and the account grows a little bit more, and he says, you know what, I got a lot of money in there. It grew at 2 million or something. I gotta get some money back. Right? This is now the next thing is a common thing in majority of these scams. They've established your trust, and they're gonna try to take a little bit more and a little bit more. So the next thing is, you just need to pay $40,000 in taxes to get your money out. Okay, now he sends another $40,000. $840,000. I don't want to get that money. But he was an older guy, and he probably invested his money, made some good choices over his lifetime. That was probably a large chunk of what he had. And he says, oh, okay. But he's waiting. He's contacting his person, all through text, of course. Okay, you just have to send another $10,000 for processing and documentation fees. And then he says, hey, you know what? Maybe this isn't legit. Maybe I'm getting scammed. I can't seem to get my money back. It was only towards the end. They were just taking a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. See this in a proliferation of bank-type scams going on now, right? And all of them involve the same thing: establishing trust. Just like that gentleman had his trust that he was able to, they were able to gain his trust when he saw that number go up in his trading account. We've had reports here now where remember, your information is out there. Credit cards, debit cards, where they have taken his account, made charges against the account, and then they call the person, because your number's out there. There's been so many data breaches now, they're just conglomerating information into profiles, almost like a credit bureau. And they called this person, and this is just one report of several I've seen. They said, hey, this is Chase. I'm just going to use Chase. This isn't a knock on them. Millions of different banks out there. This is Chase. We noticed some fraudulent activity on your account. Oh, look at that. The number comes in, 847-982, whatever. We've had people Google the number while they're on the phone. Okay, yeah, that looks like Chase on Skokie Boulevard. That looks like Chase on Lincoln. But it must be Chase. And while they're on the phone, they made the fraudulent transaction into the account or into the credit card or wherever. Typically it happens with a debit card because that's right into your checking account. They've refunded money back into their account. So if you think you're talking to Chase or any bank's fraud department and they tell you you were scammed, somebody made a fraudulent charge, and you watched the money go back into your account, did they just establish trust? Yeah. They're like a fisherman. Right? And you're the fish hungry for the worm. And you just gulp the bait, and now they just give it a little tug. And then several of these, they'll wait about 3-4 days, seen it a week later, then they call back. Mr. Smith, this goes much deeper than what we thought. We don't know who we can trust. Okay? We want to make sure that you're not a victim of any more scam or any more fraudulent activity. We need to move your money. Right? We don't know where it goes. It could be a cashier, it could be all the way to the top. And without fail, all of them involve Bitcoin. All of them. You know why? Because that scammer is not your neighbor. It's someone else overseas. Tonight when you're getting ready to go to bed, somebody else is working, putting that information together, creating a new scam, etc., etc. That's why you have to be an advocate and a student of all of this, which you're starting here. Several of you attend my beat meetings. There's just so much information out there, we couldn't even deliver it to you here in an hour, hour and a half. You have to be watching it. The next part of the scam, though, is it always gets me. You keep your money for your entire lifetime, probably in a bank, and you use all of their products, but when you think you've been defrauded, you put it into something you have no idea about. Right? These scams are going to definitely increase because just in the last couple days, when Donald Trump was elected president, he has some connection with Bitcoin, where maybe he talked about it or something like that. Like him or hate him, but the Bitcoin price is going up. Right? In the last year, it went up just on Bitcoin, when I just looked on Coinbase, 113%. Right? So it goes down, but it's gone up. Just like catalytic converter thefts. If the price of all those metals, the commodities there, go up, we're going to get a lot more catalytic converter thefts. So what we're getting now is we're going to get a lot more sophisticated frauds, but they always involve the same thing. Remove your money from you. Put it here where it's safe. Oh, you don't know about that? That's okay. We're going to walk you through it. We'll keep you on the phone. I was over at Wintrust and I talked to the president over there. And I said, hey, we had this scam report. And he says, oh yeah, we ended up turning them away. We knew it was their money, but we told them this is a fraud. And he said, well, ultimately, it's their money. They just had a cashier, they're like, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you your money. Because people are instructed to take your money out, don't tell anybody anything. Your friends and neighbors could be scamming you. We don't know how deep this goes. They take their money out of their accounts, go take it out in cash. And then they walk into the tobacco store, the 7-Eleven, the vape shops, and they deposit it into a machine. And the first 6 pages of these machines are massive boxes with letters saying, you're probably getting scammed, this isn't a financial institution, et cetera, et cetera. And you have to click all the boxes to get even past that, and then they're depositing their money. And usually not once. It's over the course of days, weeks, months. Evanston took a report about 2 months ago from a gentleman that was into this type of scam for about 3 years. Lost $1.2 million. He was sending it off, older gentleman, sending it off. His family had no clue. Right? Because they believed he'd been managing his money for years. And he ran into a problem where he couldn't send any more. So they instructed him, they gave him a website, instructed him where to buy gold bars. We're laughing about it. Could be anybody in this room. And he had $325,000 in gold bars delivered to his house. And a courier, not a legit courier that you would hire to carry something somewhere. Some kid pulls up in a Nissan Maxima or something, and he hands it to him, and he drives away. And the whole time, they established trust with this guy, and he thought for certain he was doing the right thing. And it all started with responding to a text, or answering a phone call, or clicking on an email, because he thought that was legitimate. So if we've all got them. I got an email today from Xfinity. Well, kids are going to be pissed if the cable wasn't on, right? Or the internet. But I got it set up on auto pay, so I never even think about it. And I get the email. Oh, Xfinity, your payment, your card didn't process. I think I paid it. But I don't just go click on the link and add in my login information or enter my confirm your credit card. These have been out there for a couple years now. Amazon, whatever. I look at the email address. Yeah, that's a scam. The logo's not quite correct. Right? You have to be detectives today. If you get, certainly someone in here has gotten these types of text messages that look like they're from your bank. You may not even bank with Chase. You may bank with Bank of America, but they know that a lot of people bank with Chase, so they're going to send it out there. Or they're taking your information off the dark web that's out there, because all the places we trust to keep our information safe either are selling it or their security is lax enough where somebody's stealing it. So they can attach they can have credit card numbers, and they can say, okay, this is a Visa. This is a MasterCard. It's all out there. If you use your debit card, I'm sure you've been scammed before. Debit card, yeah. The only thing your debit card is good for is to walk into your bank and prove it's you when you stick it in the machine. If you are using your debit card anywhere, it's pulling money directly out of your account. If you can use a credit card where you have the ability to get one, get one. Even a small unsecured one that you have to pay immediately before you use it yet, because it's their money, not yours. You're paying with credit, not the money coming out of your account. There are, you probably have seen pictures or newscasts or something about skimmers, overlay skimmers. They're much more sophisticated than that. If you tap to pay out there now, they can intercept some of that. Right? I've seen reports where they're sticking glue into the ATM slot, so you don't have a choice. You have to tap to pay. Right? They're putting different materials on the pin pad so they can see ultraviolet which numbers you just pressed. If they get your debit card number and they have your PIN number, they just create a new one. You can go on Amazon or Alibaba right now, order a card reader encoder, and have it here in a week. And go on Amazon and get blank cards and have them here in a week. That's a huge thing with gift cards. If you buy any of your family members gift cards, especially with holidays, stop doing it. Give them cash. They want cash anyway. I walked into one of the anchor stores in the mall about a month and a half ago, and I looked at their gift card rack. Fake, 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 fake. They don't go in there anymore and peel the gift card apart and look at it. They'll steal them and take them back somewhere, steam them open, pick the pins and everything, and then they write a program that's constantly looking at that website. Who loaded a card? Is this card loaded? Is this card loaded? Is this card loaded? It's loaded? Perfect. Swipe. So while you just paid money to load that card, that money's taken off there immediately. So you're giving somebody a card that now has no value, even though you gave the cashier $200, whatever. Or they're making their own. So when they hang them on the rack, nobody pays attention to those because until you load money on them, they have no value. And it's often prime real estate, right up by the cashier. So those are often off to the side. But they can write their own cards, take your information, write it to a card, use it. That's why it goes, it's so many different layers. That's why it's important to lock your car and not leave your valuables in there. We take several reports, the purse was in there, their laptop, their work laptop, all their cash when they went and cashed their paycheck, pistols, you name it. And then when do we find those things? Pistols, stuff like that, when they're used in a crime. so many of those types of reports go, or crimes go unreported because people say, well, it didn't look like they got anything. It's just kids. And then I see the other half of that where when we do recover people's cars, they say, oh yeah, I was willing to sign a complaint, but now that you got my car back, I don't have to go to court? Yeah, nah, I'm not worried about it. Because what they're saying is, I'm selfish, I'm not worried about my neighbor being the victim. Because that's what's gonna happen. We've been to calls where we take custody of the offender right out of a vehicle. Oh, they didn't get nothing? Okay, now I don't want to sign complaints. Okay, offender, because they are an offender, they're a criminal offender. Good luck to you on the next burglary. I hope we don't catch you. We can't charge you with this one because our victim doesn't want to be a victim. We could talk about all of this stuff all night. If, and I kind of ask this sometimes at the beat meetings, I've been guilty of this myself. You get a computer, and initially you're getting the virus software, right? Everything's going good. Oops, it's going to run out of its free trial period. Well, nothing's happened so far. I'll save a couple bucks. Lots of people are guilty of that. And then so you don't keep your software updated. So now it's no longer updated to vulnerabilities. And you're getting hit with pop-ups, pages aren't loading well, right? Or if you have an ADHD brain like me, when you're working, you have 60 windows all open, right? And you just tap, okay, this one's that, I gotta go to that one. But when you don't close them, you don't get your computer a chance to update the browser. Because it's hanging those windows out there waiting for you to come back. I'm guilty of that too. I have to be like, okay, it's Tuesday, time to close them. If I didn't look at it in a week, I don't need to be there. But that's how people are getting scammed. Your big tech agencies that we're all dealing with, Microsoft, Google, all of that, they're not giving you a phone number because they don't want you to call them. If they wanted you to call them, everything you had would be, here's Microsoft, 1-800 whatever. It'd be on all their branding, everything. It's not. It's always Microsoft.com, at Microsoft, things like that. Because they're not working for the phone company, they're working for the software internet company. I talked about earlier, somebody that was on the phone and they Googled a number to chase. Okay, it looks legit. It's super easy to spoof phone numbers. When the technology first became kind of mainstream, I would do it to my dad all the time. I laughed with him. I'd put my brother on a three-way call and we'd have a laugh. And my dad would be pissed, but it was funny, but it was just, I was showing how easy it could be. Because my dad is a person who answers everybody's call, every call, and he will talk to people. He's a farmer. He just talk. It's kind of a, hey dad, not everybody is your friend, right? It would be super easy to scam you, so be safe. With the text messages, like the big ones are really text, because everybody is doing everything by their phones. You're logging into your bank accounts, you're checking the markets. Oh, market's up. Wow, look at my account go. You're doing it all by phone. And so you get a fraud alert on your phone, and it creates what? A sense of urgency. Oh crap, I don't want to lose this money I worked hard for. When in reality, it's not that big of an emergency where you can't step back for a second and say, okay, let me go about this a different way. This looks like a fraud alert. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not going to log on to my account from here. I'm gonna go over here and log on my account. I'm not gonna click a link, right, or call a phone number in a pop-up. I'm just gonna go right to the site that I know. And I'm gonna log into my account. Did I really have a fraudulent charge on there? Or if they blocked one, oh, I could easily, because we're all Americans, we're lazy. Right? Instant gratification, that's why we have all this stuff on our phones. Should I click this link? Should I call this number? Or should maybe I go to my branch and talk to somebody? Have a personal relationship with somebody that has an interest in you being a customer, where they could actually do something on their end. But when people are clicking on these links, they're when I first started seeing money being put back into people's accounts, I was like, wow, that's strange, that's not really the goal. And then I thought about it for a minute. That is the ultimate way to establish trust. Because they're not putting their money in it, they're putting stolen money into your account. And they know that if they can set that hook, they're going to be able to get it all back. We took a report after a beat meeting of a older lady who had established an online dating relationship with someone who she believed to be a male. It's only about 2 hours away from here, but had never met him and had been talking to this gentleman for going close to a year. And she told us the stories about, hey, when can you meet? Well, I can't. I'm here now. I'm here. And all he did was love bomb her at the very beginning. I say he, we don't even know if it was a he. But he established trust. And then when he felt he had enough trust in a relationship, because I'm sure they were telling each other that they loved each other, right? They were using the emotions. Then he asked her for money. And she sent money. And then he said, you know what, I'm having problems with my bank. I just really need a bank account where I can pay my employees. So then she gives him her information to create online bank accounts. So do you think that he was using those for legit purposes? But in the end, when she brought her story to us, she was only out $75. And she kind of ghosted us because we had convinced her that she was dealing with a scammer. Said, all of these steps that you've taken, the story, you're dealing with a scammer. But what she had invested into that relationship was a small price to pay for what she felt like she was getting out of it, which was somebody that gave her attention and love. But what they were doing was using her information to scam other people. And eventually, if they found she had a lot of money, they would just take it from her too. She would have given it to them. Maybe she has. Part of this is when you walk away from these type of presentations, you have to share the information. Because out of the almost 65, 70,000 people in Skokie, we're a tiny fraction in here. And I see a lot of familiar faces. You come out, you're constantly trying to gain information because you want to be safe, you want your friends and family to be safe. But we really have to expand our network on what you learned and let people know. I see all kinds of reports. I mean, I brought a fraction of them, of where your information is going. Government loans, filing tax returns. I even had an unemployment scam. Like somebody filed unemployment benefits. We haven't seen that one in a couple of years, ever since coming out of COVID. New credit cards. AT&T was hacked. If you ever had AT&T account, somebody else now has your information, and you'll eventually get a letter in the mail stating that you owe about $1,000 because somebody went out, used your information, bought a new phone, started a new plan, and never paid the bill. And then you do it all online. They don't even have to go into the store. You can order a phone, create a phone plan, have it shipped somewhere. We talked about the intimidation type scams, where you get a letter. I mean, we see them. Anybody get a warranty? Your warranty's expired type letter? An actual letter in the mail. It's a scam. If you've never had that warranty, you don't have to worry about it, obviously. I call, when I see these, I like to play with them. If somebody texts me, I get these random text messages. I can't tell you how many times I get the same picture of some Chinese woman, right? Because they're trying, it's a romance scam. Eventually they'll find somebody and say, wow, this person is really interested in me. I'm being honest, it sounds funny, but if they throw enough at the wall, eventually some of it's gonna stick. I'll play along a little bit until okay, I got some work to do or something like that. But some people, if they're shut in, if they're older, if they don't have a lot of contact, wait, somebody is interested in having a conversation with me? And they'll listen to me, and this is a legit person on the other end. They're talking to me about my day. And then sometimes that's all it takes. And they establish the trust, and then they do something that they normally would never do. They walk into some shop with some machine and dump 20 grand in it. It sounds wild, but it's happening all the time. And there's all kinds of warnings on these machines. Hey, if you don't trade cryptocurrency, if you don't normally buy Bitcoin, this isn't the place for you. You're probably getting scammed. Next time you want to go to Lincoln and Grosse Pointe. Walk in there. There's an ATM. There's the lotto machine, and right between them is a Bitcoin machine. Could people actually buy Bitcoin there? Sure. How many people in here buy Bitcoin? Yeah, very few hands. Maybe one in the back. Most people don't. But if you feel like you're being defrauded, and somebody that you believe is the U.S. Marshal or Chase Fraud Department or something convincing you that this is the safe place to put all your money, it does sound crazy, but sane people are doing crazy things because they're being scammed.